new to our channel, welcome. This is Diamond Grid Cane Corso, and just a quick intro. Our kennel is a working dog kennel that is focused on preserving the old traits of the Italian Mastiff, the Cane Corso, which we use as not only guard dogs for our home and our property, but also as catch dogs like they were used back in the days to remove invasive wild hogs from our farmlands. As you can imagine, it's not every dog these days that can perform such a task and all that is required from it. As a newer Cane Corso kennel, it has been quite a challenge finding the right specimens for our program. So join us today as we go visit another kennel who we believe may be able to help us in this journey of preserving the working Cane Corso. All right, so first things first, I just stopped at a place in North Florida where I was picking up a new dog box. And I'm real happy with it. As you can see, it's the full length of my truck's cab or bed. Nice and high up top for the Corsos, because the last dog box they had to crunch down. They had to basically, push their bodies down to fit in it whenever they would enter the dog box. So it was not the most comfortable, but this one's really tall. So it'll be great for the Corsos. Got a nice top rail where I'll be tying up the pigs. A nice magnet lock. Makes it easy to open, easy to close. Hard for the dogs to ruin and break or anything like that. So nice and spacious inside. And it's aluminum, so it's actually pretty light. Whenever I gotta take it off, move it. Pretty light. Very happy with it. Perfect fit. Alrighty, so yeah, this is one quick stop that I had to make on my way. And off we go again to North Carolina, where I am meeting the breeder. We'll see the kennels, we'll see some of her dogs, and I hope to be bringing a puppy back home with me. Let's go. Okay, so here are the puppers. And they're adorable. So how old are they now?
These guys are 8 weeks.
8 weeks old.
And this is India. This is her first litter.
India.
Uh-huh.
All right, tell me about India.
Her sire is Alpha or Klaus. And her mother's Isabella. So Alpha is an import, and Isabella is from my older lines, some of my starter lines.
And that's one of the things that when you showed me, and you told me which dogs you were putting together. Obviously, you told me the temperament.
Yeah.
How you thought it'd be great for my working lines that I'm trying to work on myself. I love that throwback to those old lines that you have.
Yeah.
Those old, especially with how difficult it is to import now,
Yeah. And a lot of the imports seem to be a bit softer than the older lines that I'm seeing.
That makes sense. Right.
But the original lines, we started with Rocky and Sally, and I really didn't know the capabilities of Corso or the intelligence of them. And when I tell people working dogs nowadays, they think it's all the bite work,
right?
Which for these guys is pretty much, it's just like playtime,
right?
And these guys, when I explain working, I'm meaning farm intelligence, farm type work, catching, herding, of course the protection and guarding.
Everyday practical use, at least for back in the days. Obviously nowadays people don't need to work dogs like they used to before, but I totally agree with everything.
And nowadays those skills kind of go into, in the family they'll look different, but they're still there. You still see it. They'll herd a child away from the road, a toddler walking towards it. They'll herd a child away. And there is a video on the internet of that and them actually doing that.
Yeah, the natural the natural instinct that I see in some of the Corsos that I've had the pleasure of working with. That's one thing that I tell people, because people always they'll always ask me to compare it with other dogs.
Yeah.
Especially for like catch dog type of work.
Uh-huh.
They'll ask me, why don't I use the American Pit Bull Terrier? Why, why won't I use the Dogo Argentino? These dogs that are well known for that.
Uh-huh.
A lot of these people also, first of all, they don't know that the Corso, literally, that was one of their big functions back in the days in Italy. They were a catch dog. So they do have those same instincts. But one of the things that listening to you that I try to explain to people is their ability to just adapt to what you need them to do is uncanny. They have a natural instinct.
Yeah.
And what I love about them over some breeds, like for example, and not to diminish any breed, because they all have a function, and they, like the American Pit Bull Terrier to me is one of the best working breeds that has been created and maintained. I always give a lot of credit that they've been able to maintain that breed as functional as they have through all these years. But the ability that the Corso has to be able to adapt to every person's needs is, in my opinion, one of the best that I've had the pleasure of working with. Like you said, I mean, you take them to a farm. If they see that you need help herding, they'll probably try to figure out how to herd.
Yeah.
They'll pick it up on the go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Me using them for catching hogs. In the beginning, I bring them out there. They have no idea what we're doing. They see the dogs that I bring that already, will teach them. They know what they're doing. You see their brain just downloading that information.
Right.
I bring them 2 or 3 times out there, and that's it. They just turn on. It's like, okay,
they
got
know
it.
What to do.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
And they just start from there, and there's no turning back.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, like you were saying, there's definitely been a temperament change in the breed. There's some that definitely have gotten a lot softer, and that's something I wanted to ask you about again, because you've been around long enough that you've seen those changes more than I have.
Yeah.
I hear about it, and it makes sense to me because it's happened to so many breeds. Like you said, once they get very recognized with certain organizations that are popular, a lot more breeders get into it, because now if that brings a whole lot of new people that are gonna start buying those puppies. And once the main objective becomes showing those other temperaments that they were known for are not as necessary, so naturally, as
kind of goes dormant.
Right, they want to tone it down a bit. They don't need a high energy, high prey drive in the show ring. That can be hard to manage, They also don't need they want a dog that the judge can come and open its mouth and all that. So naturally, there's going to be some temperament changes. How big has been the change from when you started that you've seen to now? You've noticed, you said that the new imports nowadays.
Yeah. Now the sire to this litter, and the great grandfather Rocky, those were serious dogs. A lot of families and a lot of people that I deal with now, they wouldn't be able to handle the dog. The dog would take over the family. And I've had, the only ones I've really had returned would be males, due to that dominance. Due to that dominance issue. They're just serious dogs. Where a lot of the newer stuff is just lovey-dovey. You walk up to them, very social, more social, I think is the word for it.
Yeah, that's I recently had that's one thing I should say that you told me when you did this breeding is, and I love hearing that from another breeder. You're very well aware of the type of lines that you're breeding, and what might
it's
bring
going to produce.
Because you told me from the beginning, like, hey, I'm gonna do this breeding that I know is gonna be great for your working needs, but it's not gonna be for everybody.
Yeah. The biggest reason for going with a breeder who knows what they're breeding instead of somebody in, you know, off of Facebook who has a litter of puppies for $750, and they have 2 dogs, but they don't know the health, they don't know the temperaments that they're putting together of those lines, and they don't know, more than likely, don't know how to pick a puppy that's going to fit with your family.
Yeah, that's the type of research. Any of you looking for a Cane Corso, any breed, but definitely a powerful breed like a Cane
Yeah.
Corso, it's so important who you're getting them from. Like she said, the health of the dogs, the temperament that the breeder is producing. Some breeders are just, they're just putting one dog to another dog, and that's all the thought that goes into it. Other breeders, like Vicky here from Cape Fear, Canecorso, like I said earlier, she told me when she was doing this breeding, like, hey, this litter is not gonna be for everybody. It's not gonna go to pet homes. Um, she asked me if I was interested in it because I'm one of those working homes that she knows that they'd be a great fit for. But she already knew right off the bat what kind of production it was gonna be, and who was gonna be fit for these puppies. A lot of breeders don't do that. A lot of breeders won't even tell you that. They'll let you pick based on color.
Yeah.
Oh, I want the black one. I want the light yellow brindle, and that's it. That's literally all the thought that goes into it. They're not thinking about, like, well, they have 3 small children at home, and that's the highest energy puppy that I have here. It's gonna be wild when it grows up. No. So those are things that you wanna, that falls on you guys to do your research on that, you know, on the breeder that you're getting a puppy from. Make sure that they're a good ethical breeder in those terms. All right, beautiful puppies. Let me ask you, Vicky, when these older Italian lines, right? Okay, because a lot of people, you know, another thing that they're always asking about is the American and Italian Corsos, right? So I should tell people that, correct me if I'm wrong, but your whole
I stuck
kennel.
with Italian lines, yeah.
Okay. You started with the old Italian lines, and that's what you've stuck to the whole time.
Yeah,
So,
that really amazed me, that the energy and the endurance that they have.
it shocks a lot of people. You know, I bring a lot of people hunting with me, and nobody expects a Cane Corso to have that type of endurance that they do.
They'll go all day long.
They will, a good Corso, right? And this is, you know, again, we're talking about a good example of what a good working Corso should be like. You know, obviously there's the bad cases, but we're talking about we're talking about a good Corso. The difference, they can work along, like I was telling Vicky earlier. The ones that I work with, they, like Siren, for example. Those of you that have followed my channel for a while remember Siren. I've seen Siren outwork, you name the breed, an American Pit Bull Terrier that is 35, 40 pounds. Some of my cur dogs that run miles and miles twice a week, they're in great condition. And this Corso, who weighed, you know, between 95 to 99 pounds is what she usually was weighing when she was working. She'd run the entire time with them, and by the end, you went home because you were tired. The dog
You
could
wouldn't
keep
know
going.
that the dog was tired.
No.
They're like, I'm ready to go. What are you doing? Sitting down?
And this is miles, miles and miles running.
Yeah.
Not sitting in the truck just waiting to go catch a hog when we got one. No, she would run with these cur dogs. When they had a hog surrounded, and she would do her job, which is to run in there and catch it and hold on to it until we get there. And that takes a lot of strength and energy.
Yeah.
Anybody that does any combat sports, martial arts, or like wrestling, you know what I'm talking about. Boxing, you know what I'm talking about. There's a difference from just running at a steady pace. That takes cardio, but then add in that, all of a sudden, you know, you got to wrestle with a guy for 10 minutes. you'll be dead after
Yeah.
those 10 minutes. So this is the type of endurance that I'm talking about. Miles and miles running, and then thrown into that several, 3, 4, 5 different occasions where she's actually having to wrestle down this animal that weighs twice as much as she does in many cases. A lot of people, that don't understand like
Yeah.
these a good Cane Corso, their endurance is astonishing.
Yeah. And you
I
can't
love
hurt
it.
them.
And tell me about the dad of this litter right here.
So the sire of this litter is again stems from the older lines, and my, let's see, it was Perseus and Vanilla, and Perseus was my Caspian and Bellina, and Bellina was Rocky Sally. Um, and he was he's a nice dog. He had a few faults. I didn't like his rear so much, but that's why we breed, to improve.
Right.
But his temperament and his confidence, he was just an extremely uh, well raised dog. And he came back from a family that they had to move, they had to go overseas, so
Okay.
they had to bring him back. But they did a excellent job with him. But he was a serious dog, very dominant, old type dominant male.
And the lines of these dogs, Vicky, and what I mean by that is like from old Italy lines, like help me with this. You're much more familiar with them. Deldirium.
It's the
It's
Deldirium stuff. Yeah.
mostly Deldirium stuff.
Uh-huh.
Okay, look at that. I landed on the first one I said.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm cheating, guys. I already know what the lines they come from. That's why I made this very long trip, because I know this is gonna be a special litter right here. Look how cute. Oh, this boy. She's keeping two of these, and I'm
Yeah.
gonna take home one of these girls. Thank you so much. And this male is just gorgeous, guys. He's gonna be a little teddy bear. Well, he is a little teddy bear now. He's gonna be a big teddy bear.
Yeah.
Ooh, love the bone on him. It's another thing I like about these a lot of these Italian lines that I've seen and gotten to work with. They have beautiful bone.
Uh-huh.
Again, I'm talking about the good ones, right? There's good and bad examples for whether it's American or Italian lines. But these good ones, what I love about them is they got good bones, beautiful structure. I love the head on them, but they're not oversized.
Yeah.
A lot of people think bigger is better, and that could not be further from the truth. It looks great. It looks, intimidating if you just want a dog to bark out your window. That's great. But if we're talking about actually the functional side of them, if you actually need them to perform and do the job that you require of them, these dogs have plenty of size, plenty of bone, but without that crazy oversized. I see so many people online nowadays, Vicky, that just
Mm-hmm.
brag about having a 180-pound Cane
No,
Corso, 190-pound Cane Corso.
I tell
I
people
hear
they're
that, and I
mixed.
know,
Yeah.
I think to myself, if your dog came to work with us, it would probably, within an hour, we would probably
Oh,
have to stop
probably less
because
than that.
I'm being very generous.
Yeah.
Oh, you're right. I'm being very generous when I say an hour. But most people don't get that, and
Mm-hmm.
especially here in America, we have this thing like bigger is better.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think these Italian lines that you have are just, at least me personally, I love it.
Yeah.
They have enough size, but they're not overdoing it with the size. It's
Yeah.
a good
Yeah.
working size, actual working size for a Corso.
And a lot of calls, a lot of people, that's their first question: how big's the mom, how big's the dad?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
I tell them, well, moms can run anywhere from 85 to maybe 100, and then males can be anywhere from 125, 135, maybe 140 on a big male. And I think a lot of people who are looking for size is like, well, that's kind of small, but that's the original size,
Right.
because they have to work.
Like, look at this female I'm recording right in front here. Great bone on her. I love the structure.
She's under a year, so she's still growing.
Yeah. Oh, well, she's beautiful.
And she's one of Mystic's puppies.
And I can just see like the way you have her here, and I mean this respectfully. If she was running as much as our Corsos run back home, because they have to, doing what we do, hunting.
She would
that body is gorgeous.
Yeah.
Gorgeous. The muscle definition that would develop on her by the time she's 2 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, you got great specimens here. Great, beautiful Italian, old Italian stuff here. And speaking on standards and all that, and showing the dogs, this litter is not AKC. It's not a AKC registered litter, correct?
They are. Yes.
Oh, they are?
Yes.
Okay, okay, I won't use this then. I was gonna touch on that, but I was gonna say, because I really don't. There's people that won't touch a dog if it's not AKC registered. Like ICCF, it's like a good dog. I'm not gonna pass up on a good dog that comes from. I mean, it's got a registration paper, so you can follow the lineage of the dog. It's good dog, good lines.
Yeah.
The dog's everything I need. I'm not gonna pass up on it because the AKC decided that they're closing their. What I mean?
It was CCAA, Cane Corso Association. They gave. I think they gave breeders several years to register all their dogs, and then they closed the books.
And then they closed it, right?
So our breed club.
So it's the CCAA that closed it. It wasn't AKC. Oh, right. Okay.
And so,
see, this whole time I thought it was the AKC.
So it's all
for business reasons. Oh yeah,
they got their dogs, all of their dogs registered, and then closed out a lot of ICCF people.
Right.
Because ICCF people really didn't care anyway.
So it was CCAA. Wow. Okay. Yes. This whole time I was blaming AKC like greedy money.
No, it was our greedy breed club.
Yeah. Oh gosh, it's such. And that's, I stay out of all that because I love these dogs.
Yeah.
I love working with the dogs. I just enjoy it. It's a passion of mine. The moment you pay too much attention to the human side of it, they take the joy out of it.
Yeah.
You know, they just ruin it with their, like we were just saying, their greed, their politics, their, oh God, that's a whole conversation we could have on that, but let's keep it positive.
And people are, if it's not AKC, it's AKC has done a really good job of marketing that if it's not AKC, it's in people's minds it's not a
like it's not the same quality.
Right. That's what I'm looking for.
Right. They think that AKC equals quality, right?
No.
And it's just a registration. They're just keeping track of the lineage of these dogs, the parents, the grandparents. It's a family tree. It's a family history.
Right.
That's all it is. Don't put any more meaning into it. But yeah, you're right. They've done a phenomenal job at marketing. Can't be mad at them for that. Just like I don't get mad at them either for, a lot of people want to blame them for, like we were talking about earlier, softening the breed. Many breeds, many good working breeds that have been ruined. And it's true. You can trace it down to when they're accepted into the AKC.
Right.
It starts going downhill slowly but surely with almost every single working breed. If not all. I'm being generous by saying almost all. I think every single one. But hey, again, if you want good working lines, there are people that are still, for most breeds, producing good working lines. That's what they love. That's their passion. Like Vicky here, who, she's created a litter here that she knows is from old, phenomenal, good working lines. That's why I'm here. Incorporate that into my working lines. So we are still out there, and that's part of why I started my channel, is to make sure that they're not forgotten. And a lot of people want to blame the AKC for softening, being the responsible for that, but I blame the breeders. Again, you decided to do a breeding because you think it was going to produce some fire.
Yeah,
You know,
I
something
did.
great. It
Yeah,
excites you.
yeah.
Just like me, it excites
It,
me to produce something that reminds you of the old times, the old
yeah.
dogs.
And even texting you, that like I could feel the excitement rise up in myself,
Yeah, yeah.
knowing that
That's that passion.
you don't
You know,
sell these dogs to a family with young children that has not strong dog experience. You know.
right. Yeah, so you know, I love that, right? So that goes exactly
Yeah,
to what I was saying. I don't blame the AKC. They're just keeping a registration.
that's right.
they're doing, you know, I mean, yes, it's become a big business, but it comes down to the breeder at
Mm-hmm.
the end of the day. You know, it comes down to the organization like the CCAA that is the one
Right.
that's giving the AKC what the standard is and what
Yes.
the temperament should be. And you know, when they vote every year on changes that they may want to add to the breed, that's not on the AKC.
Right.
That's the breeders that are
Yeah.
responsible for protecting this breed and protecting the old traits that made these dogs popular to begin with. It's the breeders, you know, it's
Yeah.
us that we got to take responsibility for softening the dog breeds, for changing them to be something that they weren't, just to, you know, compete in the shows, make money off of it, your marketing, whatever personal reasons. And I know a lot of people might disagree with that. I just always seen it that way. You know, I
Yeah.
don't blame the AKC too much.
Really, AKC is just a big database.
Exactly.
There's it's,
Yeah. And they've
and they go by the judges will go by the standards that the breed club has put together.
right. Every breed has their club association that's putting those things together, presenting it to the AKC. Again, it's we can blame them all we want, but just choose your breeder wisely, like we were talking about earlier, because there are breeders out there that are still they're gonna preserve the good stuff that they like, you know, the old stuff
Mm-hmm.
that they liked in these dogs that made them, you know, good popular dogs to begin with.
Uh, yeah,
She's
so
beautiful too. Love the body on her as well.
she's built like a Ferrari.
Nice thick bone, thick tail, but athletic. You know, that's what I'm
Yeah,
talking about. A
she's got
nice, good, big enough size, but with that athletic build I love
yeah,
to see in these.
and those long legs. She could probably really
Yes,
go
yes. Oh,
far.
she's built beautifully. I can see her working phenomenally with us.
Yeah,
And he's a tank.
he is.
So yeah, guys, just because they're Italian lines don't mean they're small.
Yeah. Well,
And how old was he? You said, I don't know if I
I think
picked it
he's
up.
3 or 4.
Okay, so he's
Yeah.
already a mature male.
Yeah, he
Okay,
is. Yeah.
beautiful.
Bickering
You can see
neighbors.
that Mastino head.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Oh, I know, buddy. I
He's
know.
just a big boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gorgeous male.
This is Bella. She's vanilla stuff, and that's what was her breeding. She was Matilda and Hefe. She's a Matilda and Hefe puppy.
Okay.
So Matilda was down vanilla side, and then Hefe is Perseus rocky side.
Again,
She was a puppy that was the people they waited probably 2 years for a Formentino female and had a deposit in, and I was getting Formentino males, but then we finally had one Formentino female. I said, okay, she's yours. Well, she was too much. So we were going by color, and I'm thinking, these people have waited 2 years. I got a Formentino female.
right, you kind of felt pressure to,
I'm
yeah.
just gonna go with it, and really, she was too much for the family,
Gotcha.
and they had to bring her back. And so they waited another 6 months, and I fitted her with one of Carl's puppies, the Carlton Champagne puppy, and it was a male. So that was a case where the male was actually a better fit for the family than this female, and you could see her energy.
Yeah.
So she was like that with 2 kids in the family. So and they just, the kids were getting afraid of her because they were younger children.
Yeah.
And
you can imagine the energy.
Yeah.
How old is she now?
She is almost 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, she'll
Okay,
be.
so she still got that puppy energy.
Yeah.
So this is what they're dealing with. Imagine that.
Yeah.
So again, this is why listen to your breeder if you're picking a Corso. Don't focus just on the color. You know, we understand. We all understand. Everybody has their preference. We do too. We have our favorite colors.
And you know, it's. I think that was the first time, because a lot of times I'll recommend that first timers, especially, and people with young children, get a female. But really, that was the first time, and it took me 2 months of watching that puppy before I even said anything to them, and just making sure that that puppy, that male, was going to be good in that family. And that's sweet. These guys they are following us. They're interested in what we're doing.
Yeah, I love their temperament. Everything I've seen today from them. Reacting great to everything when someone came earlier. I love the reaction on them when somebody new came that they're not used to. This little one went charging at the gate like she's a big girl. Yeah, good, solid confidence I'm seeing in all 3 of them. You know, I've seen different moments where it would be normal for them to act a little, you know, careful because they're babies. You know, I'm not expecting them to be 100% completely nonchalant about the world that's still new to them, but no, they've been solid with everything that's happened today. Stuff I haven't caught on video. Love the temperament on them. I love this little boy. He's like little teddy bear. Ooh, you can tell, you know, just looking at him immediately, you can tell who the male is.
Yeah.
He's just a little. I don't know if it shows as well on video, guys, because I'll tell you, a lot of this stuff does not look the same as when you're looking at it in person.
Right.
Especially when they're behind these cages. I know a lot of what I'm seeing and appreciating in these dogs, you guys might not get fully, but
now these 3 here are all from a different kennel, and you can see the difference. So this girl here is from another kennel, but we did a puppy trade. They got a male out of a breeding that they wanted, and then I got this female, which is, you can look at her head and tell she's part of my line. So
which one? This one here?
This female here.
Okay.
And then you can see these other 2, this one here and that one there. Their heads are quite a bit different. So it's a difference in different lines. And they still go back to my Rocky Sally, but they're a little more the difference in the different breeds, I guess. She's a little closer. All right.
Yeah, I'm giving them space there. It's the puppies though that she's interested in.
This is Hefe. He's from Senza Tempo.
Oh, this is Hefe here. Hi, Hefe. Yeah, he's a beautiful boy.
He is.
And who's he with?
He was bred, and Rachel at Senza Tempo bred him, and then brought him here. And
is he from her Batista mill?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I don't know why I kind of got the feeling just looking at him now. I don't know why I always got I don't know her lines that well, but I I remember watching some of her videos back in the days. I always liked that Batista.
Yeah.
He strikes me for some reason as a
stuff.
solid, confident, speaking of confidence and all that.
Super dominant male.
Yeah.
So he's the old Durium stuff. And then he also has the Perseus, which is my Caspian Belina, back to Rocky Sally. So he's still, even though they're
so you got a lot of line
A
breeding.
lot of my stuff is coming back to me.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what what I'm, wanting to do in my own program and starting to do is, if you found something good, solid nerve, solid health.
Yeah.
You got something good, perfect. That's exactly, again, another sign of a good breeder that knows what she's doing. She's keeping that blood, those genetics within the family of dogs that she's creating.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I specifically know what I'm doing.
Well, hey, you've whether you did it inadvertently or not, you're doing it right.
It's happening for me.
So I was gonna ask you, speaking on the old Italian stuff, specifically your lines, because we can't speak on everybody's lines, everybody's dogs. Have you, in your experience, because one of the things that, especially a lot of the American breeders will like to bring up to kind of put a bad name for some reason on the Italian stuff, which is it's an Italian Mastiff. Always boggled my mind why we have to do that. There's no need for that. But have you, in your experience dealing with the Italian dogs, have you noticed any health issues that you've had to breed away from, or have they, at least in your experience, the lines that you have been pretty overall healthy dogs?
Overall, very healthy.
Okay.
I don't get any callbacks on dysplasias, the cherry eyes, a lot of the common things that are going on in dogs now, and especially in the Corso breed. I don't get a lot of, I do get some here and there, but it's sporadic. It's nothing.
Nothing that wouldn't happen to every kennel that breeds. Yeah, we all run into an issue sooner or later.
Yeah,
of course. But like the big things that people like to bring up, like epilepsy, and with your lines, your experience with dealing with the European line specifically.
I have not had any epilepsy.
Right, that's why I say we can only talk about yours.
None of the puppies, nobody's called me and their dogs having the epilepsy.
Yeah.
So I've been very blessed in that area that there's been no matches to cause it. And I'm not, do we know what even causes it? It's just a brain.
Yeah, unfortunately, we don't know much about, there's no genetic testing for it.
Yeah.
Hopefully they come up with something that, like they did for DSRA.
Yeah, right.
I hope they come up with something like that one day where we can actually test for genetic epilepsy, because that's probably the scariest thing that can happen with this breed is that and again, I think this is very rare cases, some people make it sound, again, usually when talking about Italian lines for some reason, because they like to put the blame on the Italian lines, they like to I guess and I'll tell you, it was something that when I was getting into this myself, I first started with an American dog, and I was worried about getting into Italian lines, even though I wanted to try one out, just to see, prove to myself which is actually a better working dog, because every breeder is always going to sell you on what they have. They're always going to paint the grass greener in their yard, so to speak. So I really, for what I'm doing, since no one else is really doing it, there's only one way for me to actually find out. So I knew right off the bat, I'm gonna get a little bit of American lines. I'm gonna get some Italian. I care greatly about the health of these dogs. That's a big thing for me. So for a while I was concerned. I was very concerned about that, because they do try to paint this picture that if you're getting an Italian Cane Corso, you're getting all these health issues.
No.
And I have not experienced that either. I have not seen that. In fact, I've seen it in some American lines, you know, or some dogs that are mostly American line Corso.
Right.
So I think it's just something that it's unfortunate that does happen on our breed, but I think it can strike anyone, you know, from whether you're in an Italian line kennel or an American focused line kennel.
Yeah.
It's something
Well,
very unfortunate that like we were just talking about, there's no genetic testing for it.
yeah.
I personally believe, not in every case, because I'm sure there are genetic cases, but I think, like I was saying, I think those are rare cases. I think a lot of it probably has to do more so with the medications
Yes.
that they're getting from these vets that have been proven to cause epilepsy. That is one of the things that has been has been proven and shown to cause seizures and epilepsy in dogs. I actually stopped using one of the medications. I think it was HeartGuard. That has strong links. That's been many times. And let me tell you guys, when they have to put it on their label,
right,
that it can cause these things,
it's because it has.
It's because it has many times, not in a few rare cases. No, it's costed many times in many different breeds.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's another thing that I often wonder, how much of it, when it pops up in a Corso, how much of it, what's the percentage, I wonder, of it being genetic versus people over vaccinating and over medicating their dogs with very strong chemicals. I
think the bottom line, if there's not a, it could look genetic if the line has a certain weakness to, maybe there's something in the vaccination, like an allergy, like a dog can pass on an allergy.
Gotcha.
And they're getting, and it looks genetic, but of course everybody vaccinates. All the puppies are vaccinated generation after generation after generation. And then it looks like a genetic issue. I'm wondering if really it is damaged DNA, but it's due to the vaccinations.
I think in many cases, over vaccination and these extremely highly toxin medications, like I just said, some of these flea and ticks. I mean, I even mentioned brands. I don't know. Don't want to get sued. But again, they have had to put it on their label, so I'm not saying anything that's not already known.
Right.
But yeah, they're extremely harsh toxins and chemicals that we're putting into these dogs that show to cause these things. So I just always wonder what the percentage would be, you know, because we immediately want to blame
the breeder, the genetics, and then you got to put your dogs down and all that stuff, or at least not breed them anymore. Right. And I personally feel like in my kennel, my success with the health of the dogs has been because I do the raw feeding with these guys.
Oh, yes. I'm glad you brought up the raw feeding.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
And I think that's also why we don't have elbow dysplasias. The hip dysplasias. With the hips, the puppies are kibble-fed puppies, I feel like, are grown too fast. So their skeletal system grows, but their muscular system cannot keep up. And as they're growing, and people want these big, heavy, fast-growing puppies, it wears on their hips, and then that's where the dysplasia is going to come in. So again, that is more dietary and environmental than a genetic. They can't even even test for it genetically because there's not a genetic marker.
And I bet there's so many things that we can trace back to that. Just the vaccinations, medications, and the crap food that they're given.
Yeah.
I'm a huge proponent also, as you know, about on raw feeding. And ever since I switched from kibble to raw some years back, the difference is noticeable right away.
Yeah.
Right away. I'll probably have some videos in the future on that for those of you interested in raw feeding. I've done it in the past. I'll probably do it again on this new channel. But Vicky here, actually, you have your own company that you started, actually, right?
I do. Yep.
Can you talk about that real quick? If people, maybe somebody wants to get pre-made raw food, that's what you're doing, right?
Yes. So I started Heaven Sent Healthy Pet, and I started it in the beginning as just a way to be able to provide raw food to my puppy families, so that when they bought a puppy, they would have a source that where they could get the raw food very easily, and it would make it easier for them to be able to feed raw. So I put together a package. I called it the Complete Nutrition Package. I made sure they had salmon for their fish. They have all the variety of the different meats and the meaty bones, and then some supplements, Paracleanse and a Lifeguard, which were like a dewormer and a vitamin type supplement, um, and some cookie snacks, and for a month. And so puppy families will get that, and every month they get it every month, and it just makes it easy for people to, especially people who've looked at it but were overwhelmed by all the information on the internet,
Right. Yeah,
and
because I
just
think that's
stepped
what
back
stops
and
a
said,
lot of
no way.
people.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people are interested, but when they make it out to be like brain surgery in the on the internet, when really it's very easy.
You meanie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have noticed that when we try to explain to people how we do it,
Right.
you can see when it starts to become like they're thinking in their head like, okay, this is just too much for me.
Right.
And
Yeah.
it's really not. I mean, in the beginning, like anything, it'll take you maybe a couple of times doing it
Right.
to get used to the routine, doing a proper, well balanced raw diet.
Yeah.
But once you do it a couple of times, it's
Yeah.
so easy.
Yeah.
But hey, if you're interested in that, but you just don't want the complication of it,
Yep.
there are companies like Vicky's here that do it for you, and they have the blend, the well balanced raw blend already, all of that formulated
Yeah. Yeah.
into their packets. How's your shipping? Are you shipping to all states or?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I ship out California, Texas, everywhere.
All right. Perfect. There you go. Anywhere in the states.
Yeah.
She's got you. All right, Vicky. Thank you so much again for your time, and I'll talk to you guys later. I'm gonna spend a little time with these puppies now. Enjoy them for a little bit before my ride back home. I'm taking one of these beautiful girls back home with me. You
Yeah.
guys will see her grow up and hopefully become a great working proven dog in our kennel. So we'll document that whole process.